Okay, so this is video number 2. This starts at muscle tissue. Okay, so muscle tissue is on page 69. Muscle tissue is important because it allows movement. It's how you move in your body. Not only is it how you move your body, but it's also how we regulate openings in your body. Muscle is made up of muscle fibers, which are cells. Okay, they have proteins in them that are going to make them contract. And those two proteins are actin and myosin. Okay, so actin and myosin are what actually make our muscles move, make them contract. Okay, now, these 3 types of muscle tissues in humans we're going to talk about. Okay, and they're pretty important. So there's skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. Okay, so the first kind of muscle is skeletal, and this is on page 70 in your textbook. Okay, so skeletal muscle is called striated. Okay, so striated just means it's got these lines on it. Okay, those lines that's where we find the actin and the myosin. So the actin and the myosin is what's going to make it move. So it looks, to me, if you looked at it, it looks like maybe a salmon fillet that you would see like in the fish counter at Martin's. So there's the salmon. That's skeletal muscle. Okay, the cells are a little different. They have more than one nucleus. Okay, they're found attached to your bone. Okay, that's why we call it skeletal, right? Your skeleton is your bone. And what they do, the way they work, is it's called voluntary movement. So that means they move when we tell them to move. Okay, so voluntary movement is going to be important. So you have to consciously think about moving your skeletal muscle. Okay, smooth muscle is the next kind of muscle. Okay, the cells they call them spindle shaped. So spindle shaped kind of means, they're pointy on each end like this. So if you look here. They have one nucleus. They're not striated. Okay, so they don't have those lines. Okay, where we find smooth muscle is in, they say, the walls of the hollow organs and vessels. Okay, what does that mean? We find them in places like our digestive tract. Okay, so your stomach, your intestines, they have smooth muscle in them. We have it in our eye. It's what's going to make your pupil contract and dilate. They're also in our blood vessels, in our arteries. So that's going to be what allows our arteries to get small and to get big. Okay, now, one big thing about smooth muscle is that it's involuntary. Okay, do you think about your food, how you're going to move your food through your stomach? Do you think about changing the size of your pupil? I don't think so. Okay, so smooth muscle is involuntary. It's controlled by our nervous system without us thinking about it. Okay, cardiac muscle tissue. Guess where that is? It's in your heart. Okay, cardiac muscle we don't think about. It's involuntary. So involuntary, we're not thinking about. It's beating on its own. Okay, our nervous system is controlling it, but we don't have to put conscious effort into it. Okay, if you looked at the cells, okay, they are striated, like skeletal muscle. Okay, they have a single nucleus. They have these little things in here that are called intercalated discs. Those are these little, this little thing isn't lined up right. It's these dark spots in between the cells. So the intercalated discs are going to allow the heart to beat as a unit. Okay, so cardiac muscle is what makes our heart work. It's going to be what keeps our heart pumping. Okay, nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is how our cells communicate. Okay, how we take sensory information in. Like how when you see something, how that information gets from your eyes to your brain and how you figure out what it is and how you respond to it. Okay, so sensory input, integration of the data, and motor output. So that means, okay, if I touch a hot pan, that's my sensory input. Okay, that message gets sent to my brain really fast and it says, uh-oh, she touched a hot pan. Okay, and the motor output is, oh, I'm going to pull my fingers away from the pan. Okay, now, there's 2 kinds of cell types in nervous tissue. Okay, there are neurons and there are neuroglia, or neuroglia, some people say, but neuroglials makes more sense with the word. Okay, so what's interesting, wait a minute, can't remember what's in here. Okay, well, neurons, okay, that's what you think about when you think about a nerve cell, are neurons. Okay, so neurons are going to be found all over your body. They're really concentrated in your brain and your spinal cord. Okay, they're made up of a cell body, so this is the cell body. Okay, and they have an axon. Okay, so the axon is this long, it's almost, if this is a tree, this is like the tree trunk coming off. Okay, and they have these dendrites on them, and the dendrites are going to take the information, carry the information in. These are the branches on the tree. They're going to carry the information into the cell body. Okay, so here's the axon. So we got cell body, dendrites, and then axon. Okay. Now we also have these cells in here that are called neuroglia. Neuroglia. The neuroglia are they're like helper cells for the nervous tissue. So the neurons are, I know this is kind of bad. I think of the neurons as kind of like they're the diva, they're the rock star. Okay, the neurons are what's doing all the work. And these neuroglia are the cells that are supporting and taking care of the rock stars, the neurons. So these are the ones, you know, the personal assistants and all the other people that are making sure that the neurons have what they need. We have way more of these, of the helper cells, than we have of regular neurons. Okay, so some examples are in this picture. So we have astrocytes. Okay, we have these oligodendrocytes, and then we have these little microglia. These guys are just making sure that nutrients get to the cell, that waste gets taken away from the cell. They're support. Okay, another thing that's important is the neurons don't really go through mitosis on their own. Okay, they can't go through mitosis, so what that means is we can't make another neuron from this neuron. Okay, once a brain cell is damaged, a neuron is damaged, it can't reproduce. But these neuroglia, these little ones, these helper cells, they can reproduce. Okay, there's a really cool thing in your book on page 72 about nerve regeneration in stem cells. I think I'm going to ask you some questions about that. Okay, now I think I'm going to stop here and start another one for epithelial tissue. See if I remember how